There we go. All right. Thank you for coming to our listing powerhouse panel. The goal for this session is to learn from our best agents within our company, right? I think all of our agents are the best, but these ones in particular have gone above and beyond in listings in particular and getting us ready coming out of the listing lab and getting us ready to do the listing league and getting into the listing season. I thought it was a really good idea to have a conversation with are people who are winning listings, right? Um, and so, for those of you who don't know, we have James Preiner from our Park Rapids office, and he had 22 new listings last year. We have
Yay.
Barb, yay! We have Barb Dahl from our Alexandria office, and she had 24 new listings last year. And then we have Vern Lewis from our Crosby office, who has got to go above and beyond, apparently, who had 49 new listings last year.
That's awesome, Vern.
Surprising.
That's really
Well,
good.
I cancel them and relist them, cancel them, relist them. Did that work?
Actually, after I had pulled the numbers, I think you might be right. There might be a couple in there that are like that, but overall, that's still a lot of listings. So a little icebreaker to get everybody used to talking, right? What is, for our three panelists, what is the weirdest or most awkward thing you've ever had to move, hide, or fix to get the house ready for photos?
I was thinking about that, and there really wasn't anything awkward. I think I've come across hoarder situations where, in my years, where you're just like, now what do I do? So that's always a tough one. And I guess I never looked under the piles to see if there was anything weird.
That's fair.
I think one I went to and I walked in the house and then the lady goes, I go, I need to go in the basement. She goes, just go over and go down there. And I walked over and you could not see the stairs going down to the basement because the clothes were
Oh,
that deep. So I trumped,
oops.
like walked right through all of her clothes down to the basement. And down in the basement there it looked like a mushroom was growing out of the floor. And it was her clothes. And she put sheets over her clothes to hide them. And it looked like a big mushroom. And she told me, she goes, I'd rather throw them away than wash them. She goes, I'd rather just buy new ones than wash clothes. And I was like, oh, wow. And then I tell
Yeah.
everyone when I'm taking pictures, I say, don't worry, they won't see nothing because I just hold the camera up above all the crap.
Well, and with Remy, you don't even have to do that now.
Yeah, now it's like, doesn't matter, right?
Oh, James, how about you? Anything weird, awkward?
Oh yeah, all kinds of them. I had my probably my favorite one. I went to a house with a family, and their mom was getting older, and it was in rough shape, and they were trying to get it saleable. I was giving them, some advice, and we were walking around with grandma and the kids. We walk into grandma's room, and there's like a big like glamour shots style picture of grandma, but in like a dominatrix outfit, like a horsewhip and the leather and all the biz. And just sitting there above the dresser, kind of, for everybody to see. And we're walking, and I noticed it and was trying to keep it cool. And the daughter noticed that I noticed it, and she turned like bright red and kind of hurried me out of the room. And Grandma was there, oblivious, like probably proud of it. It was really great. Uh,
Oh, dominatrix photos. Oh boy.
yeah, so we had a discussion about taking down personal pictures and staging,
Hmm.
making it
Turn it
you
into a
know
learning opportunity.
depersonalizing the home a little bit, but
Good. So what I'm hearing from that answer is that you guys list all sorts of different properties. You don't stick to just the most expensive properties, right? You guys list all over the place. Would you say that's true?
Very
forestry,
true.
especially in a
Mm-hmm.
smaller market like Park Rapids.
Right?
I'm not going to discriminate.
There you go.
All you
Uh,
can
prop.
do is advise and say, this is, you got to do certain things. And then that's all you can do.
Mm-hmm. Can't do it for them.
You know?
And when they don't listen, Vern, so they leave the raccoon dead hanging in a tree for those showings.
I like
you know.
those though. That's it appeals to some buyers.
But what do? Okay, so you have these situations, you give them your advice, take down grandma's nudie photo. Um, what what do you do when they don't listen? And then the feedback is, please take the dead raccoon out of the tree. My buyers didn't appreciate that, or yada yada yada. I get it, it's a country property, and that was their argument. But I think I heard that comment 5 times from 5 different buyers.
I think it's advising the seller to say, "Hey, I told you this is a problem, and here's the problem. If you want to sell the house, you're going to have to do this." And I just put it in a closet, take it off the property, or put it away. I've done that, with deer heads when you go in and if there's two of them, it's different than if there's 20. And I always tell people it's like, some people, even though they get mad because they're like, "Oh, what's the matter with that?"
Mhm.
But I would just if you have people that respond on the showing feedback, obviously that's something that you
Yep.
can say, well, I could sell your house if you would do this.
Yeah, gives you leverage.
Mhm.
Yeah, just using the feedback and just being frank with them, even if they're
Yep.
not liking it, and trying to maybe over explain why 10 dead deer heads in a wild boar is maybe not going to appeal to everybody. But
Yeah, I did not relist that one because she wouldn't listen. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and sometimes
Yep.
that's the answer. It's if they're not
Yep.
going to take your advice and they're not going to work with
yep.
you, and they're not taking you seriously, well, then they're just wasting your time.
Or
Hmm.
if you get
That's it.
relisted, say, I want to relist it at X amount of money off the price to get by the problem.
Right.
'Cause like I always say, everything will sell at the right price. You have to say, well, if you want to relist it, I need 25,000 or 50,000 off the price so that we can sell it. Or would you rather take the stuff off the wall and keep the price where it's at?
Right.
Mhm. Those tough conversations. How long did it take for you guys to get comfortable enough in your listing career to be able to say those things fairly directly and not worry about people's feelings, whether or not they liked you, whether or not they went and talked bad about you in town? Like, how long did it take you guys to get comfortable there?
I guess I'm
I think
still not there. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'll do it, but I'm not comfortable with it, and I hate having those conversations. I had one with a seller about it was a duplex and they cat pee upstairs and it smelled horrible. And you can keep telling them, and when they don't do anything, you're just like, well, you know. So, I mean, I hate having conversations where you're coming across as a critic instead of an advisor, but
Mhm.
they have to be done. It's just not in my personality to to be comfortable with it.
Mhm. So, how do you get yourself in the mindset then to have that conversation?
Well, I ask for honest feedback, and that's always a good catalyst to bring that conversation forward.
Then you can be the deliverer of the information, right?
Right, right.
Yep. Put a little piece. Vern, James, how about you guys? Are you
I,
guys always been comfortable
I'm
with
kind of
just telling
blunt
people?
by nature,
You're
so
what?
kind of blunt by nature.
Oh,
Like I just tell it the way it is a lot of times, and then so when I'm working with a seller who's got things that need to be taken care of to make the listing more presentable, I'll just tell them flat out and frame it with I'm not trying to be rude. I've done this a lot, and these things tend to turn buyers off, and you should address it. And if they have a like dog odor, like I have a dog, I don't really notice it that much, and it comes up in a listing feedback, say, hey, they said something about pet odor. Like you should take some time to maybe clean it up. It's hard when you have a dog to notice it because they're used to it. It's like a smoker, same thing. If they're used to it, they don't notice it. It's not a big deal to them, but you kind of have to ease them into trying to think how they would think if they were the buyer. And sometimes I actually say that, like, well, if you were looking at houses and you notice this, how would it affect you? Like, what would it make you think about that listing? And we just kind of try to get them to reverse the roles a little bit. But usually I just dive right in, like, hey, you got to do this, 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 and that. And if you can't do it all, that's fine. Do what you can. But the more you do, the more money you're going to get for this. Just
Mhm.
I'm curious, do you guys, and everyone that's here in the meeting, do you give them a list of things to do to make their home more appealing to buyers? You know, like clean it, paint it, whatever. Brandon, you do? Okay, good.
I have a sheet too, Barb, that says, prepping your home
For
for
sale?
showings or for sale. It's a sheet I always leave with them the minute I get a listing, right? I don't give them to that before that. I'm not giving you nothing before you sign your name.
I love that.
Um, you know, that's also stuff I preach in that one seller seminar. Smells.
Right.
So, yep,
That's a big one for me.
yep.
Mhm.
I mean, I have one. I don't know that I use it a lot. I usually, once it gets to the point where we're really having to get the listing looking nice, I tell them it needs to look like an Airbnb. Like that is the ultimate stage level in my mind. It's like if it's got the same vibe as an Airbnb, you've done well staging. Like it's benign, it's furnished, it looks nice and welcoming, but is depersonalized and clean and smell free. You know that. So I just kind of use that Airbnb goal for everybody, and it seems to work really well because they can envision it because everyone's been to, for the most part, an Airbnb and stayed somewhere like that. That's nice, but not personal. It's just a good-looking, benign space, and I think that for me has worked really well.
Mhm.
I like that.
I like that too.
Mhm. So
Mhm.
what's as listing agents, first of all, what's your number one mindset shift that happened to focus more on listings versus buyer sales? Or do you focus more on listings? Or are you about half and half? Vern, how about you?
I've always been like wanting to get listings. I was my mindset was always, why do I want to try to just work with one person and sell them one house? If I can list properties, I have everybody working for me now. And that's the key, right? If I always tell people, I said, if I'm going to put this on the MLS, we're going to have 750 agents trying to sell it. Now they're working with me instead of me just trying to sell your home. And so, they've always told me in class, he who lists last. And I'm like, you need the listings if you're going to last in the business. You can drive a buyer around, and when just like this market right now, there's nothing to buy.
Mhm.
You can show a lot of houses and never sell a one because you have that one buyer that keeps missing out on that one house that hits the market. If that's your listing, it's sold. So
Mhm. Yeah. Barb, how about you? What about your mindset?
Um, well, I've always tried to get listings, and it's just I'm kind of a weird situation because when I was pretty comfortable, when I was in the cities, and then 6 years ago I moved up here not knowing anyone, I guess 7 years now. So it's been kind of just regrowing that again. So getting name recognition, it's hard. I mean, it's hard, but I'm now finding that even the people that I've sold houses to up here are coming back to me to sell. So that's good. I've always wanted to be a listing agent, but I was disrupted in there.
Brandon says, no weird, proving you can move your business and be successful. It's not weird. It's because you're good at what you do.
Oh, well, kind of necessity, right? You get out there and you do what you have to do. So,
Hmm. Exactly.
yeah.
James, how about you? How about your mindset?
I can't say that I focus on one or the other. I definitely value listings more than buyers, and simply because it's a great source of
Hmm.
buyers and buyer leads, and it's advertising. Like before I was a realtor, I knew the realtors in the area because of their listings. Like I seen their name on a sign, I seen their stuff online, and the people that were prominent in my mind were the people that were listing properties. So,
Okay.
like getting a listing is paramount because that's what shows that you're doing it. If you sell a house, no one knows you sold it. The other guy's got his name on the sign. He's got the sold on there. So your buyer's thrilled, and you might get some word of mouth from that buyer. But having that listing is, that's kind of why. Can't say that I focus on them more, but that's why I hold them in a little higher regard.
Yep.
I think one thing to add too is the more signs you have in a smaller community, the busier you are. And it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. You might not be selling any of them, but everybody says, "Man, you're busy." It's like, and so, and I would say if you have a sign, the buyers are going to come to you. If you focus on your listing, you're going to have all the buyers you need because they're going to call off your sign.
Hmm.
But you got to advertise on the sign too, who we are. It's like back in the day, I'd never worry. I'd put up back then it was Century 21 Jacobs Realty, and then I was just making the office more noticed, but I didn't really promote myself as much as I should have probably back then, as far as name writers and that, because I'm too cheap. I don't want to buy anything. So the signs were supplied for me then. But so I think it's really important to get a listing, make sure that people know it's your listing,
Hmm.
not the company's listing. So
Yeah. So Vern, you had mentioned that the market is slower for listings in general, right? We all know
yep,
inventory is down. How do you stay motivated to go get those listings when there's not many out there?
I'm not the one to ask that because I'm not motivated anymore. It's so different for me because people just call, just like yesterday. I mean, I'm sitting here at the office and I get a call and I listed a lot. So I'm not
Hmm.
actively, Chris does my little ads and we do some paper advertising. But again, I don't know. It's so hard for me to go back. And that's when I say back in the day when like the question was about, well, how do you talk to people about a listing? Could he do that? I'd be like, when I couldn't get a listing, I wouldn't say nothing to people, but I need the listing. Now, since they call me, if they call me, it's so different because now I'm walking in there and I'm like, you want me to list your property? This is how it's going to go. We need to do this, right? And back in when these younger agents, you have to just get the listing first. And that's why I say, just like for me, I was like, but back when I was younger, nobody would work with me because I was too young and all the old people knew everything. And, it was a struggle for years. So,
Hmm.
so that's why I always feel now it's way easier to, to have those conversations with people and stuff like that. And listing wise, I just don't work at it as much as maybe I don't know, like
Yeah.
all those listings I got last year, 49 of them. I don't know if they call me and says, "Oh, I seen your advertisement." They call me because they know my name, and that's the key,
Right.
right?
So your brand recognition is so
Yeah.
huge right now that they come to you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Barb, how about you? How do you stay motivated or consistent in your listings in a down market?
Um, you just have to keep going through your database, your CRM, and reach out to everybody and see, if they're ready. Because they talked 2 years ago, I have it in my notes. They talked 2 years ago about moving. I mean, there's this one guy, he was supposed to retire 2 years ago. He's still in the cities, but he opens my emails every week and I reach out to him occasionally and I know that when he's ready to buy a pair, I'll be listing his Monticello house too. Hopefully I'll still be in real estate by then. But and hopefully he does get to retire, right? But I think you just stay consistent with your database.
Hmm. James, how about you? How do you stay
I
motivated and
I
consistent?
don't stay motivated. I mean, not to say that I don't do stuff, but if it's slow, I kind of try to enjoy it for what it is. Like go hang out with my family, do my own projects, do my own interests, and the main reason I do that is so I'm not burnt out when it is busy. Because if it's just busy all the time, my social battery's down. I don't feel into it. I'm a little bitter about it, and I'm not a good realtor at that point. I just if you like September and you're kind of sick of it, and you're a little bit, you know. So when it's slow, I just let it be slow, and I'll go through my CMA stuff. Maybe I'll improve my CMA format, or work on some tools or equipment or things that are going to make it more efficient when it is go time. Like, so when it's time to move and you have to do three of them in a day, you can do that easily and not, stress. You're prepared. So you get like prepared and updating old advertising, old social pages, uh, the realtor.com things. You got that realtor on there with the phone with the cord on it. Still, that's from, a picture from 1980 that's never been updated. Like, like making sure I'm not that guy. Like those things are important. So I mean, and then those pages, the realtors and the Zillows, they favor up to date and current and active accounts, even if you're not buying leads. So if your stuff is up to date and you're checking on it regularly, your profile will be more prominent in there, and it does result in sales of leads. So that kind of stuff, I guess I'll do, and maybe
Yeah.
contact a client. I don't know. I kind of just take it as it comes. Which sounds awful saying it, but but that's how I do it, and it works. So
Yeah, and you ride the market, right? We all know that our market is very cyclical. So if you're sad that you don't have any listings in December, you should realize that there's only 10 listings in the whole month of December that goes on, right?
you should realize it's time to go fishing.
Well,
That's what
if
you
you
should
were
realize.
James, it's time to
Yeah,
go fishing.
yeah,
Yes.
because you won't be able to do it in July. So
Um, right. Okay, so James, you talked about your listing presentation or things for a listing. What is the most crucial part of your listing presentation that you find most valuable or your clients find most valuable when you're talking to them?
data, like real numbers, real counts, market data, that kind of thing. Like
Hmm.
you can tell them whatever you want, but if you don't have proof, it's especially when you're newer, like you have to have good comps, good, like say the market's trending upward, and you know that last year it went up 5% over the year before. So you're going to tell them, hey, this is what they've sold for last year, and it's been kind of trending up 5%. And so we're going to slap 5% on it, and that's should be where it sells. Like it will for sure sell at where the comps are, but if we put a little extra on there, it's going to be good for you. Or conversely, if it's real flat or coming down, and you have year old comps, and that seems to translate well. Like if you have really good information based on numbers and data, real things that they can see that you didn't make up, they'll usually take your word for it, especially if you've built some rapport and trust right out the gate.
Hmm.
'Cause that's important too. But I keep it pretty simple. I'll bring a little marketing booklet that'll leave with them just to kind of show them what we do. Um, I'll usually preface that with, and it sounds awful too, but all the major and successful realtors are all kind of doing the same thing. Like really, like you can say I'm the best and I do all of this stuff. Well, everybody who's worth their salt is doing that stuff, and so that is fine. But your expertise is more important. Like knowing where to list it, why to list it there, and then how to like create some excitement around the listing. That's another thing that I kind of bring into my CMAs. It's like we wanted to go coming soon for a couple of days or a week, or in some situations, a coming soon doesn't work, where it takes away from the excitement. Where like a good example for me last year, the city homes, like regular city homes, coming soons fell flat on their face over and over and over again. And then the minute I stopped doing coming soons, it created urgency, and then they then there was people right there right away trying to write an offer, trying to get their foot in the door immediately because they didn't have a week to think about it. They had to do it now. Um, and so I'll bring stuff like that into my marketing evaluation, but a lot of it's real off the cuff.
Yeah. Which lends into your expertise, right? I've tried this
Yeah.
thing before and this is how it
Mm,
worked out for me. So let's try something different this time.
right.
Um, Barb, how about you in your listing presentation? What's one of the pieces that seems to really resonate with your clients?
Actually, I have a pre-listing packet, and if I don't have time to send it to them before I meet with them, I give it to them at the listing appointment, and it talks about me, my mission statement, what I can do for them, the internet marketing, how commission works, um, and just kind of talks about our company and then how I give back. And because it has in there how the commission works, they already in their mind then they know that, and so that's not their very first question. That's because they can sit through a whole listing presentation and then be worried about, well, what's she going to charge me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if they have that some of that information up front, then we can actually get to the numbers like the guys were saying.
Mm-hmm. Great. Vern, how about you?
Well, I mean, I really don't have a pack I walk in with. I do a CMA with numbers, but my number one thing is when I go into a listing, when I walk through first, and then I always go back with my information and meet them again. But I still feel like why I do so well is because I don't worry about the real estate when I'm there. I want to learn about them. Why are they moving? Where are they from? What they do for a living? By the time I leave there, we have a really good, usually rapport of we're, like I said, it's like a lot of the people that I work with, it's like they call, I mean, we're friends afterwards. And that's where I think what a lot of it is I always say is to me to win the listing is don't worry about all the numbers and this and that. I get them talking about what their life is and what they did. And I would say I have a lot of knowledge maybe about different things because I'm just, I don't know, I'm just not book smart. I'm more like have done things in my life so I know, so I can relate to them right away. And then when I leave, they're like, hugging me, basically. And so when I go back with my numbers, it's a lot easier to explain. And for sure, when I go back, it's almost like I've already won the listing. They just want to know what my opinion is on the price.
Mm-hmm.
And I do use a lot of the coming soon things that people literally tell me. They say, "Oh, the other agent never mentioned that if they had somebody else there." And depends on the market again. It's like if things are selling quick, there's a lot of different variables in my whole spiel of what I'm doing. When I drive just when I pull up into the house, I already know what I think I'm gonna list it at.
Mhm.
And then I just try to come up with numbers that I feel that's gonna justify it.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing also is what was I gonna say about something else on there? Forgot.
It'll come to you.
Um,
Um, so we have a lot of sellers who have an inflated idea of what their house is worth, right? We've coming off of the multiple offers. Um, how do you deal with sellers who have an inflated idea of their home's value? Do you just lay out the numbers? Do you not take the listing? Do you set up some kind of price reduction in your listing contract? How do you usually deal with that? Barb, do you want to go first?
So a lot of times I'll say if it in a really hot market, I'll say if it doesn't, we don't receive an offer within 10 days or 2 weeks, we need to look at that price and adjust that price. Um, this market is a little bit different, right? It's starting to slow down. Or it was slowing down. So that's different. But if, for example, I have a guy that keeps talking about wanting to list his house, it's a lake property. It's worth maybe 850, 900. He truly believes it's worth $2 million. And I just said, I'm not going to list your home, you know?
That
So
one's easy to say, no,
yeah,
I'm not
right,
helping you.
right. I'm like, no. And I have found that most sellers that are just so adamant about price, there's a reason why, like they might really need that money. I had one last year where it ended up where they hated me at the end, which sucks. But it was all about price because their daughter shared with me that they were so upside down in their finances. They were just so stressed and the house wasn't selling. So, there's a reason why they're that way.
Hmm. Yeah. James, how about you?
Well, kind of going back to the data thing, which Vern mentioned, building that rapport and really like relating to your clients, learning them, getting to like them. I kind of glazed over that. That is first and foremost, and very important because if they don't like you and they don't trust you, it doesn't matter what you say. Um, but having a good market evaluation, good like numbers to fall back on, so you overlist it by 200,000 and it's 100 or $800,000 home that's at a million and it's not selling, and then you can go back and say, hey, here's the numbers and here's some new comps that are we need to get closer to this, and just using that as a fallback. basically. Because if you did it 2 months ago and it's still accurate, you obviously didn't make it up. Like you can use it as leverage. Like, hey, like I said this before, it still rings true, you know, and to kind of ease them back into the data, because I mean, the market is the market. Like where things sell is typically where they sell, and so if you have that from before, I just bring it back up again, and maybe sprinkle a couple expireds on top, or some newly closed listings to say, hey, look, this one just expired. It's very much like yours. It was at a similar price. It didn't sell. Like yours isn't going to either if we don't make an adjustment. You
Mhm.
know, that's how I approach it.
Yeah. Vern, how about you? How do you have those conversations with your sellers?
Um, here's one of those things I don't know. It works for me, but I don't know if everybody want to do this. It's when I go through the house and they think it's worth more money, I tell them get some other opinions. Um, some agents are afraid to invite other agents in. I'm not. I tell them up front. I say, I go, you getting anybody else to walk through the house? No. I said, well, you should. I go it's free. I go get three opinions. If somebody's way up high and all of us are where I'm at, then obviously you know where the price should be. If everybody, I go, I'm telling them too, and I say, hey, I'm not perfect. If everybody else comes in here and they're higher priced than mine, call me first and have a conversation about it. So and most of the time they will, they'll call and say, Jesus, but I know 10% of the time they might call and say, hey, or they might list with somebody else. But most of the time, I know 90% of the time they call me back and say, yeah, we're ready to list because they've got educated again. And it's just an opinion, right? And I tell them that I go, this is my opinion off of the data that I can pull up, just like an appraiser. I don't care what they say. You can pull up all the data you want. I can make one house one price and take that same house and make it this price by pulling up different comps. And that's where I always feel that the experience of walking in the house, that's where I would say I know right away what I'm going to list it at. Um, but I feel bring in the competition. Maybe you'll lose a listing over it. If you do, then figure out why you did. Because did they do a better presentation or did they have something more to offer than you? Did they just cut the commission? Who knows? I always tell people it's like I can tell them I sell the most real estate in this town. So they know that my track record there. It's just get them to realize the price needs to be where it's at, and that's the only other way I know them is having
Mhm.
another opinion, right?
Do
Yeah,
you ever
which is
not
fair.
take listings because of that, Vernon James? Do you ever
No,
just say, nope, I'm just not going to take your listing?
I Yes, I have. I typically say I just don't think the market is there for that currently, and maybe it will be in the future. And once it gets there, maybe we can try again. Uh, Sometimes I'll just take them and see what happens and see if I can write them down. But if you have somebody who's going to overlist their home, and even with your opinion or somebody else's opinion or whatever, and are willing to waste your time, they're usually willing to keep wasting your time, and
mm,
you know.
I
And
think
not on other times I've overlisted them and they slowly come down. One lady, I told her flat out, I'm not going to tell you to do a price reduction, because she was kind of headstrong and didn't like to be told what to do. It's like, I just won't, and we'll list it here and that's fine. But if we're not getting showings, you need to know that it's time for a price reduction, and you need to call me and tell me to reduce price, and we can talk about where to put it. And she did that 3 times in a row until it was sold. Like she about a month into it, called. It's like, God, we're not getting any more showings. Like, yeah, well, we kind of talked about this and brought it down again, and brought it down again. And I just put the ball in her court. Said, here, if it's not getting shown, we have a problem. You call me and let me know when you're ready. And that worked really well, actually, with her. But yeah, I turn them down from time to time. It's just, if they're totally unrealistic, then it's not worth it. And then oftentimes, more times than not, they list it, it expires, or they get frustrated and cancel, and then they call you, and then they listen. They know that you told them the truth right out the gate, and then they're ready. Sometimes it's just a matter of waiting until they're ready.
Mhm. Yeah, Vern, how about you? Have you turned down listings because their price is out of whack?
never really had. I don't think. I mean, I've listed stuff that's too high, obviously, and then I just explained to them and say, hey, we'll try it, but it ain't gonna work. And
Mhm.
if it doesn't, then we got to do a reduction. But I always tell, and I tell people this all the time. I say, I can list your house for whatever you want. Eventually, it will sell because the market will catch up to the price. And some people say that, well, I sold my house for more than what you said. And it's like, yeah, 2 years later, anything will sell for more money if you let the market catch up to the price of the home. And that's where you see some of these listings, they sell finally because the market has caught up to their price.
Mhm.
So, and that's then most people they realize it's like I go, do you want to sell or do you just want to, you need a couple of years yet to want to sell? Because
Mhm.
that's where they're at. So,
Yeah. So Brandon had asked, how often do you rerun the CMA value to get a price reduction for an overpriced listing or a stale listing? Do you have a cadence of when you do it, or is it just when it pops into your head?
If it doesn't
I
sell within a month, I do it just to see if my
Okay,
numbers were really right.
that's fair. James, how about you?
I will normally do one every time I ask for a price reduction, or at least look at it. I may not present it to them even, but just yeah, to reaffirm what I've been telling them in the first place, uh, or to see if there's some change that I missed. But normally, if I'm going to go asking for a significant price reduction, like a $25,000 reduction, something like that, I will absolutely run a CMA every time, and just quick and dirty, but still
Mhm.
something to affirm what I'm asking for. So I'm confident about it. And if it's like a $5,000 or $10,000 one, which happens often, then I won't. Then I'll just say, hey, let's knock this down just a little bit and see if we can get some movement on it, or freshen the listing up, or just give it a little boost. You know,
Mhm.
that's
Vern, how about you?
I'd say it depends on the time frame. But like if I list it, I prepare them up front. If I say, hey, I think we're going to be on the high side, because I give everybody a price range. I say, hey, this is where you'd want to be if you want to bump it up a little to see what the market is. And it depends on the market. Like when things were selling with multiple offers, I told people, if you trust me and list it low, we're going to get more than what my price was anyways, because then we'll get a bidding war, right? But on the going back to like if it's 30 days, I'll call them and say, obviously we want a price reduction. I really don't look at like doing a CMA. What I do is to look at see what has sold for that 30 days and what reduction came off of their price. And say if the average was 5% off, then I'll say, here's the market right now. Nobody's getting in their asking price. And maybe there's a 5% reduction off of there. So maybe we can look at getting it reduced to where that would be. And I try to keep it, obviously, if it's a $200,000 house, I'm trying to use, I don't look at lake homes at 800,000 and say, oh, everything is selling for 5% off. I'll say in that range of homes, here's
Mhm.
what's sold in the last 30 days or 60 days, to try to have some force there. But most people know. I mean, like I said, if I tell them up front, let's say right now I tell them if you put it on the market and if we don't have an offer within a week, a bunch of showings, and within a week, uh, we're overpriced, and we just got to be realistic to the market. And
Mhm.
obviously, January is different than if it happens in April or May or something. So
Right.
Yep, absolutely. Timing matters big time.
yeah.
So Brian had asked, how do you get the leads to get to 30 to 40 listings? And do you know your conversion rate and what is that? How many listing appointments do you go on that actually turn into listings? Um, and so like Vern, I would talk about, you know, when you started really pushing into listings, right?
Mhm.
Um,
I lost a
m-
pile of them. I mean, I
yeah.
go look at stuff, and I mean, one out of, I mean, it was bad. And I'd be like, why? And I'd ask the people, I said, why'd you leave? Oh, because he has experience. He has experience. That was the big thing. Oh, Bill's been around forever. And you're like, yeah, but I can run a computer and they can't. And in those days, um, So back in those days, I lost a pile, and I would advertise way more. Like the one thing I think that really took my career to the next level is having a billboard. And it was crazy because I put my kids on a billboard with me, and there was so many people right away. And then I did an ad in every week that was funny with my kids. And
Hmm.
it like the calls just changed at that point. And they would say, "Oh, you're a family man," like all of a sudden, "Oh, I just got wiser," right? Because I have kids. I thought it was more I'm dumber actually, but otherwise it made me become but again, I was 24 years old, 25 years old too. It's not, again, it's so
Hmm.
that changed. I think that's what changed people's mentality that all of a sudden I was like, hey, I'm I know more or something. I don't know. But then that's when I really started getting more listings and stuff. And people would always comment about the thing I do every week. Like I'd put my kids in the paper, say, hey, call my dad. We need new shoes, and I'd have them barefooted. Stuff like that, just to make people laugh. I think it sinks in their head a lot more than if you just put an ad out. It says, hey, call me, Joe. I'm
I'm the
sell
greatest.
your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Hmm.
If you can get somebody to relate back to you is the whole key in anything, I think, in advertising. So people would comment every time they'd call me, they'd say, oh, we just love your ad in the paper every week. And it was a card size ad. But then they started just watching for it. So I mean, get something like, and that's where once you start getting more calls and they're calling you for that reason, then your conversion rate goes up because they like you. They want you to list their home. You ain't competing as much anymore.
Yeah. And we talk about in marketing all the time how you have to be authentic to yourself, right? And so,
Hmm.
Vern, you're a joker. You like to joke and say funny things and right,
Yeah.
tease everybody. And so that's authentic to you, which obviously
Hmm.
shows in your marketing. Um, Barb, I saw you nodding with
Oh,
when
sorry.
Vern was talking about Billboard.
No, I
And
was laughing at his because
oh,
his when he said billboards, I'm like, yep, that would do it. Um, I wish I could do that. I, because that takes guts to really put yourself out there like that, Fern. So I applaud that. So
mhm.
sorry.
Well, Barb, same question to you. Where do you get most of your listing leads? Is there any one specific place or is it multiple places?
Well, I use a company for leads, but also I was going to say I think everybody should have their Google reviews page up to date. Get it out there. And
Mhm.
you'd be surprised at people that, sorry, my husband is like right by the door, apparently hanging out by the ring doorbell. Um, but no, get that Google review page going because people will call you. When you get some honest, reviews and people are like, oh, she helped me with this, people appreciate that. That's what they're looking for. And the next thing is, the next thing is, um, I would, if Google ever does video reviews, I think that will even be better. So
Ooh,
How,
it's a good
yeah.
Barb,
idea.
how do you get them to fill out the reviews?
I send them an email and I've had limited, so I've had mixed success. Sometimes I would do it before we close. If they're super happy, do it before you close. But usually I forget and I send them a letter a couple weeks after we close and say, hey, can you do a favor for me? And I ask them to fill out the Google review link and I give them the link and I just say it helps with my marketing and I'm honest that that's what I'm asking them for. So
Hmm. Yeah, I've had a heck of a time getting specifically Google reviews filled out, and I can get them to do the Realtor.com stuff and the Zillow stuff typically, uh, and the Google ones. To save my life, I cannot get somebody to fill that out.
yeah,
It's
see, I don't do anything
frustrating.
with Realtor or Zillow at all. I probably have my old companies on there, Brandon, instead of I'm probably not updated. But I just kind of gave up on Zillow and Realtor a long time ago and just started focusing on Google because everybody goes there first, or they'll be like, "Hey
Hmm.
Siri, you know, give me
No,
a
absolutely.
Realtor and wherever."
I've had a Google page for a long time, and I still cannot get reviews on it. And I don't know if they're having a difficult time filling it out, or if they don't have a Google account, if they're not.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah.
James.
What's that?
James, I just want to tell you, like, I feel like it's a little bit of timing because I'm really big on my Google reviews too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I give them about 2 weeks. So actually, I always set it to the end of the month normally, but I give them 2 weeks because then those first 2 weeks they're moving, they're trying to
Right.
get things homesteaded.
Oh.
Like, there's a lot of variables that are running through their head. Maybe they're on vacation, maybe, just a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things. So then once life calms down, maybe they're back into their job at that stage of the game 2 weeks after moving, then I
Mm-hmm.
send the email and I just always say, don't keep me a secret.
Oh,
Well,
that's good. I like that.
that's great.
Share
I do
share
send
with
it
your
very quickly, so that could absolutely be a factor. It's just a matter of like it's 2 days after closing, and blasting up my
yeah,
email
they're too busy
fresh,
then. Their mind is
right?
not focused on that. They love you, but they're not focused on you at that point.
Right. Well,
Hmm.
that's very
So,
helpful. Thank you.
mhm.
Hmm. Okay, I wanted to open up to everybody else. I mean, we've gotten some questions in between. Is there any burning question that you absolutely want to ask our our listing powerhouses today?
How can I be more like Vern? No.
Right. We want to be like Vern when we go
Hey,
out.
you don't want to get like me.
Don't worry, it's just colored right now.
Yeah. I
I would
don't like,
love to be
Um,
at your level, but
well, it's again, I think it's getting out. Like Mike is on here right now, and I told him, I said, we've been going to trivia and I learned how dumb I really am because it's stupid, useful information. I mean, like, who knows this shit? It's like, it's unbelievable, this stuff that people know. But anyways, I'm like there, and it's like, I walk through, and Mike can know this. It's like everybody walks by me, says hi to me, or shakes my hand, or whatever. It's like, you gotta just I don't know. It's just knowing and being out in the community, and I'm always there. It's like I'm always out and about. I don't stay home very often. Mike can contest to that. It's like I'm usually get home, go to bed, but usually I am out at somewhere where there are people and
mhm.
they see you, and then they go, "Man, you're always around, or you're always working." Like my truck at the office. Like I say, they drive by and they go, "Man, you're always at the office." It's like I could just leave it parked there. They want to know the difference, but and I think that's just really the the biggest thing is just being in your community. And I don't know, it's different. Like our town is so small. You go to the bar and I know absolutely almost every single person in that place. Where if you're in a town of 15,000 people, obviously it doesn't work that way. But
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think it's different personalities too, Vern. I'm more of an introvert and a homebody. You know,
yeah.
like
Mhm.
if I had to be out every night, that would be torture.
And me, it's like I get home and I'm like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna
Yeah.
do? It's like we have we we're just constantly going like that. And there's days too where I go, God, maybe I just stay home. Like last night I just stayed home after my city meeting and I was like, that's weird, but maybe I'm just getting older or something.
Hmm.
I do have a billboard idea for anybody who wants to take this though. You guys down there with the guy with the arms out, I thought
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
do an AI photo of you with your feet like your legs going straight out on chairs and then just sit there with your arms folded. And then it would say, why do I need to buy your home when I can sell it? And then
Oh,
see how, because I think how many people would
They'd
go,
get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
Because instead of his arms out, you would have the legs and have it really extend the legs out as big as the billboard.
He would probably sue you.
I know, well,
probably.
no, but I
Yeah.
think it's legs. It's not
You
Right.
arms.
think
Yeah.
the
Right.
I was gonna
um
do it actually, and then I'm like, I don't want to go through that. But if on a billboard, that's what you need on a billboard, not a picture of yourself saying, call me because I'll sell your home. You need something. Like my
Uh,
clown one, I did a clown on it one time. That's the best one ever because people hate clowns. And people would call me and go, God, I hate that clown. And so if you do stuff that are advertising anywhere, make sure you put something that's like that on it, not about You, just your name.
Yeah, just yeah, good-hearted, make
Yeah.
people laugh. Yeah. Brian had asked, what percentage of your new listings are repeat or referrals versus just cold calls or cold leads? I know, Vern, you've talked about a lot that a lot of your stuff is just repeat and referrals.
Yeah.
There's not a
90,
lot of
I would
cold
say
stuff.
again, 90% of my business. Like the other day, I got a call. The lady knows Nancy. They used to own the bowling alley. And so she called me because Nancy told her to call. And then
Mhm,
I called Nancy, which is
mhm,
important to do, is talk to the person that referred you and say, hey, how do you know? And so before I went there, I called Nancy and say, how do you know? Her name is Romaine, the lady I'm meeting with. She's 94 years old and she lost her leg at 90.
Oh,
It was unreal. She's like, I'm like, wow. And this lady's like the Spitfire at 94. She knows her stuff. I mean, it's amazing. So, like I said,
mhm,
is I spent an hour there just visiting with her about her family and this and that. And her sister died, so she has to move because she can't afford to be there anymore. But before I went there, I called Nancy and asked her, like, hey, what's the scoop? Thanks for referring me. And what's the scoop? And she told me everything about the lady before I got there. So you didn't walk in and see this lady with no leg, and you're like, whoa. It's like I knew she didn't have a leg. I knew she was with it, and her sister lived on the property, or her daughter did at 69 years old. Her daughter was there at 69. It's crazy. So that's the key too, is like referral business. If you do get a referral, call the people and ask them before you get there. What's the story with the people? They'll tell you everything about them, right? And
mhm.
then you're more prepared when you walk in.
Absolutely. So when did you see your business shift from repeat business and referrals
Well, I think we talked
from
about that.
cold leads?
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think before we talked about that, and I thought, I don't remember what, I think it 7 to 10 years before you'd start seeing it, because like again, a lot of people you sell houses to don't sell for 5 to 7. So
Hmm.
you then you but and again, I think it's a lot different maybe in a smaller town, and I don't know, maybe it isn't that you just get people will refer you more. I don't know, because everybody
Hmm.
knows everybody, right?
Yeah, which is fair. Barb, how about you? What percentage of your business is repeat versus new?
Well, again, it's different because I'm up
Hmm.
here. But I was just going to say it really shifted when I really, really started sticking to my CRM and doing emails, personal emails every day. And I know it's a pain, it really is, but you have to go through it every day and try to reach out to people. Um, and the other thing is answer your damn phone when people call you. Stop, stop texting everything. When people call the first time, answer your phone. It might be spam, but it might be someone who wants to list their house.
Hmm. That is great advice and one of my
Yeah,
biggest pet peeves. Yes.
And especially when it
Um,
says spam, you answer it. I do. And if they don't answer right away, I hang up, because
right.
I've had
mhm,
people that it says spam is on their number and they were calling to list their home. And I go, wow. I go, your number showed up as spam. And they go, really? So
mhm,
you just assume that the phone's telling you the truth, and it's not.
Right. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah.
But I mean, there are agents in the Alec area that never answer their phone ever. And so everything has to be done by text. And if that's frustrating for me, I can imagine what it's like for a buyer
Hmm.
or seller,
Absolutely.
you know?
Uh, James, how about you?
I'd say
Leads
it's
or
about 50.
referrals?
It's about half and half, I'd say.
Okay.
A lot of it is repeat business now. Early on, uh, it was all like floor calls and like buyer, like leads that I paid for basically. And
Hmm.
now, and some sphere of influence because I'm in a small town and I don't know people, but now it's at least half of it is just people coming back around again, or somebody who knew somebody who bought from me.
Yeah. Okay.
That comes with tenure.
Hmm.
And going back to the billboard thing, because Vern said it and it kind of stuck with me. When I was new, and I was probably about the same age, I was like 24, 25 when I started selling real estate, maybe a little older than that. But people were like, "Oh, you're selling real estate now," for a long time, for like 3, 4 years. And my wife said, "You need to get a billboard," which I thought was ridiculous. And so we did it because she told me to, and it immediately changed it to, "Oh, you're a realtor." Like it was no longer you're selling real estate. It was like it legitimized my business um, in a way that I never would have imagined. Like it just, and I don't know why, because nothing for me changed, but my face being on this thing that everybody sees every single day as a realtor made them immediately associate me with real estate for my sphere of influence, but also new people that I met that were coming into town. They're coming that way. They see that billboard every time, and so there was never a question about my like experience, simply because my name was on the billboard. And so if you're a newer agent, having, and maybe not a billboard, but some sort of really visible advertising um, that just legitimizes you in a way that I don't know why or how, but it works. It works well, and you need to have something like that if you can, as soon as you can afford it. That, and I mean it with social media, maybe that is an avenue, a cheap avenue to utilize, but
Mhm.
definitely very important.
Let me start out with a cheap one too. The like non-lit billboards are cheaper than lit billboards. You can find areas that are still have visibility but are on the lower end instead of going right to 371 or I-94, with a billboard that's different. But one other thing I was going to add about listings though that is important is the last two ones that I've listed, the people called me and said, "Oh, you sold us our house." And so they wanted me to come on and list their home. I look back, I never sold them their home. I had it listed. And they forgot their agent but they remembered my sign or whatever. And so they called me and actually I went on Reno Lake is the one I've listed. I never sold them it, but they said, "Oh yeah, you sold us our house." I go, "Well, I technically didn't, but I go, I'm being more than happy to come out there." And I did. And it's so, like I said, that's again, people remember certain, maybe because the agent never followed up with them, but they just remembered the sign because they probably see it around when they're driving around. So the sign keeps pounding in their head, right? So
Mhm.
that's one thing I thought was interesting that even though you didn't sell them something, they think you did.
Mhm. Yeah, that's huge. Well, we are at time, you guys. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Even though all of you don't think it is knowledge and wisdom, I will tell you it is. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Let me know if there was one nugget that you really liked. Go ahead and send me an email. Otherwise, that was all we have for today. Thanks so much, and we will see you at the all team meeting on April 7th.
All right.
Okay?
All
All
right,
right.
All right.
thanks.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.